Hi everyone, it's Jill Fountain here, and today I have got Marleen Matt, you go by a few names, don't you?
I go by a few names, yes.
You do go
Well, no, you or oi, yes.
and I alter as I go as along. Now then, we have known each other for a while, but we did get introduced by somebody else on Facebook. We didn't know each other before then, and we really did get introduced by a third party, didn't we? And we've just sort of seen what each other are doing. I know that you are a first aider, but you're going to come on to more about that in a minute.
Yep.
I also know another part of your life, which is global traveling.
Yeah.
And that is a story by itself. I mean, we could spend hours talking about your travels.
Yes, definitely.
So can I leave you to first go on to about the first aid and what you're doing and how you help people?
Yes, of course. Yes, of course. So hello, everyone. My name is Marleen, or Maas, or you, or oi. Yes, 5 years ago, I quit my job because I was a bit fed up with the whole thing. And I went into first aid. And I thought maybe I can give you a little bit about what first aid is, a couple of tips, maybe things to, they're handy to know. And then maybe things to look for in ill people. And then if there's any questions, let me know if there's any questions. And if you want to know anything about my travels, I'm very happy to talk about those too, especially in times where you can't travel. So diving straight in, first aid. And just to tell you, I am not a paramedic. I am not a nurse. I am not a doctor. And that's the same for most people that are listening to this or are doing first aid. You are not a doctor or nurse or a paramedic. You're just the first person on the scene helping out someone who's injured or sick, okay, before the medical professions arrive. Okay, so you need to keep that in mind. So don't do any Mel Gibsons trying to put, joints back into sockets or any operations, putting bones back into. That's not your job. Your job really is to prevent the person to become more ill, to make sure that they don't get any worse, and to get them actually to hospital as in the best position ever, so they can be treated by the right people, by the professionals. So. If you are not sure if you have a medical issue, then I would say call 999 or the European number, which is 112. So if you ever go to France or Spain or holidays somewhere in Europe and still in the UK, the number is 112, which you can dial as well. If you dial that number, they ask you what service do you want. You say ambulance services. And then the very first question you're going to get is the casualty breathing? They don't say hello. They don't say, who are you? They don't. The very first question you get is the casualty breathing? And that's something that you need to kind of find out before you call the ambulance services. Because if the casualty is not breathing, or if it's a pediatric casualty, so a child, you will go to the top of the list. Okay, so top of the list means your ambulance services will be moved and go to you straight away, because non-breathing casualty obviously is serious. Okay. And I thought a couple of handy things maybe for people to know is if you use your mobile phone, and that's probably what most people use right now, if you don't know the location where you're living, most services can actually triangle where you are. So even if you don't know the postcode or the area that you're, the position that you're in, if you use your mobile phone and you're in a populated area, they can triangle where you are and can find out exactly where you are. If you've been walking in the Bracken Beacons or the Forest of Dean or anywhere like that, it is a bit more difficult for ambulance services to find you. They know the area where you're at, but it's more difficult for them to triangle where you are because there's less masts, mobile masts available to triangle where you are. And because of that, if you are an avid walker, or if you're a little bit outside of a busier area, there's an app called What 3 Words. If you download that app works on GPS. And what they've done with that, they have taken the entire world and put that into little squares. And every square has 3 words attached to it. Works on GPS. So if you're in the Amazon and something's happening to you, you don't know obviously where you are, somewhere in the Amazon, use your app with what 3 words, and you can they can actually pinpoint where you are. You give those 3 words to emergency services, and they can actually find where you are. That really works, and it works with 999 as well these days. So it's well worth downloading an app, especially if you're outside of a populated area or if you're a big traveler in middle of nowhere sometimes. Okay, so good app to know.
Sorry, what was that app again?
What 3 words? So
Just
the number
what?
3. What 3 words?
Wow.
Yeah, actually, I think they're doing.
Amazing. Sorry?
They're doing advertising. I think I've seen some advertising on television of it now. But yeah, it's a very good app to have.
Yeah.
Yes, it works worldwide. So that's the other thing. I mean, if you're in distress and you've been watching CSI for all your life, you dial, instead of 999, you dial 911, which is quite easy to do if you forget. Then usually they reroute you. So usually they know that you're in the UK and they reroute you from 911 to 999. There are occasions that your 911 calls goes to the US, and then you get a bit of a funny answer.
Yeah.
So it takes about 3 days for us to arrive at where you are. But yeah, what 3 words really works in areas where there's less mast or no mast or in middle of nowhere. Yeah.
Marvelous.
Yes. So casualty breathing. That's one of the big questions. That's one of the first questions you get from the ambulance services, and it's the one that they prioritize if your casualty is not breathing, or with a catastrophic bleed. Catastrophic bleed is if you have an arterial bleed. Arterial bleed comes from the arteries. Arteries is your oxygenated blood. And oxygenated blood is the blood that's being pumped from your heart straight into your arteries. It has a lot of pressure on it, okay? And that's the blood that sprays out. If you have an arterial bleed, it sprays out. And might surprise people, but you bleed out in about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes. So that is a bleed that needs to be stopped really, really quickly. Because once your blood pressure's dropped, your heart can't pump anymore because there's nothing to pump around. There's no blood pressure. So your heart can't pump. And that means there's no blood going around in your body. That means your brain doesn't get any blood. That means brain doesn't get any oxygen, means brain dead, basically. So very, very important. Another tip that might be of interest for people is if you dial 999, you can't speak. So say you're being held hostage. Say you're choking. I know that it's a rare thing with choking. There's you also have minutes rather than hours, but it could be something that you could do. So yeah, you're or if you're hearing impaired, you can dial 999. But if you can't speak, they have 2 options then. And the options are either this is a hoax call or this is someone in distress who can't speak. And for them to find out, you're then being rerouted to a call center. And in that call center, you get a quick message. And that message basically says, press 55 if you are in distress or if we need help. Okay? So if you are in distress, you can't speak, dial 999, you're being rerouted, press 55, and they know that they have to come to you, okay? Because if you don't do that, if you just dial 999, they think it's a hoax call. If you don't do anything after that, they think it's a hoax call and they hang up on you. So it's another good one to know, just in case. And you can't speak, but you do need ambulance services.
So you dial 999 and then immediately dial 55 is when they pick up, or do you just do 99955?
No, they need to pick up.
Right, they need to pick up.
They will ask you a question, you don't answer, or you can't, or you don't. Yeah. They will forward your message, and then you get a sort of a tape, and then you press 55.
Oh, right.
To be very honest, I have never done it myself, so I have to say that. So
no, but
what I would do is I would keep on pressing 55. But it's a very good thing to know if you can't speak, especially if you're in it was created for people who are being battered around the house, being domestic, those kind of things. You can't speak because your partner is
you're under a threat.
Yes, but if you can dial 999, but you can't speak, then press 55. So yes, yeah. So it's a
Okay.
good one to know. Couple of other things maybe that's of interest. Consent, because a lot of people always wonder, oh, can I do this? Can I not do this? If you find someone on the street and you want to help that person, and you need to help that person, for instance, because they're bleeding, or if the person says no, so you say, you introduce yourself, you say, can I help you? Should I do this? Should I that? And the person says no, it's no. So you can't do anything. The only thing you could do, of course, is to always call 999, because you can always call 999.
Yeah.
So no is no. But if this person now goes unconscious, there's implied consent. We assume this person wants to be helped. So this person is, for instance, bleeding heavily, and they now go unconscious. Now, because they're now unconscious, you can help them. You can now stop that bleed.
Even though they said no.
Yes.
Because
However,
they got to a point.
yes, absolutely, because we all assume that people want to be helped and saved.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, if they would wake up again and say no, you have to step back. So that is a bit odd. I know that. But so yeah, in principle, if they say no, they can verbally sort of say that to you, no, then it's no. You can always stay with them and talk to them. I mean, most people are embarrassed when they fall, because often you don't know what have you think you tripped or anything like that. You might not realize that you have a broken leg, or you have a wound or anything like that. So initially people are very embarrassed and say, no, I'm fine, it's okay, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we stay with that person and talk to them and tell them what's going on. Tell them you've called ambulance services, things like that. That eventually they might sort of realize they need help. So in that sense, they might actually change their no to yes. But if they keep on saying no, then call 999, stay with the person, and then hopefully the guys from 999 come, and the ambulance services come really quickly.
Right.
But if they go unconscious and you can't do anything to stop them to getting worse, then you can, because we're assume consent. There's implied consent.
Yeah.
So yes. So yeah.
Goodness.
Yes.
That makes you think, doesn't it? It really does, because you are right. Because our first reaction is, oh no, we're fine, thank you very much. And then sometimes you can manage to sort yourself out and get home, but other times you just deteriorate and you do need help.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, absolutely. So, but no is, and I don't know if anyone ever looks at the programs of ambulance services on television or any of this. You sometimes see people that are in distress and they kind of can't get them into the ambulance service because they say no, but they do say to each other, the ambulance services, well, we'll be back for him or we'll be back for her. Because they know they can't drag them into the ambulance service, but they know that eventually this person will have to come to the hospital, but they too can't override a no. So and that's the same with us, really. So yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Marvelous. I've actually got that app up on my other screen.
Brilliant.
So I'm hoping that it's the right one, because otherwise. Okay. But can I share my screen just to show people? And you'll see as well, and you can tell me if it's wrong.
Yeah.
Just get to this. This one here, never get lost again. Is that it? Can you see?
Yeah, hold on.
It says what3words.com.
Oh, that's a .com one. Okay. Yeah. So I would imagine. I've never looked at it on .com. I've always looked on my app, so on my phone. So
I think that's where you go. Well, I mean, it's
that's where you can download it, I'm sure. So yeah,
it obviously is something, and it struck me that in these there are times where we've been so involved in what the sat nav is telling us to do that we've actually lost track about where we are.
Yeah.
So we will say, if it's a long journey in particular, we'll say, well, what town are we near, or what? Because when we used to, I'll come out of here now, but when we used to, there you go. When we used to be reading the maps, in the old-fashioned days when we were reading maps, we always knew where we were. But there are times where nowadays you're just totally concentrating on what the sat nav is saying, and you do lose track of where you are. So this is brilliant, actually.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a really handy app to have, and so especially if you are in sort of unknown territory or
Yeah.
where they can't triangle where you are, it's a very yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots of stories now. People at sea. So if you're at sea and you're
Really?
in distress and your boat capsized, or you lose your oars, or your sails ripped, or they can actually
They can
pinpoint
still
you.
pick you. They can
Yeah,
pick.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because all
That
that
is
area, the
incredible.
entire world is being put into little squares. So yeah.
Well, there you
Yeah,
are. Technology
I
comes to
know.
our
I
aid.
know.
Isn't it
Yeah,
amazing how things have progressed?
I know.
It
Yeah,
really
gosh.
is. And
Yes.
obviously, in lockdown at the moment, we all know exactly where we are. But when we start going out and about
Yeah.
again, now I'd love to get you back on another day when
Okay.
we can just focus on your traveling, because that's a whole story by itself.
It
But
is.
I'd like to just keep on this
Yeah.
subject today.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you work with schools and students,
I
and
do.
there's been a dip in some of the services because, of where we all are at the moment. So
Yeah.
if anybody can pop people in your direction, where would you like? How would they contact you, or what would you be looking for work-wise?
Work-wise, well, anyone who, of course, needs to have a certificated first aid course. So I do first aid at work, which is a 3-day course.
All
That's
right.
the full-on, all singing, all dancing course for organizations, individuals, things like that. I also do a 1-day course, emergency first aid. That's just the basic first aid topics. I do
Yeah.
pediatric first aid, so the 1-day course and a 2-day course for pediatrics. So that's schools, nurseries,
Yeah.
like that. I do mental health first aid, so I do that as well. So half a day, full day, and the 2-day course for mental health first aid, which is all about signposting, signs to look for in employees and things like that, certificated and things like that. I also do baby massages, so I do as well. Yes,
they are so popular.
lovely. Oh God,
You and I
that is
had this conversation before, because my daughter, we've got 2 tinies. We've got 4 grandchildren, but 2 of them are 4 and 8 months or 9 months. But certainly, well, all 4 of them went to baby massaging because they just found it so lovely and calming.
yeah.
Yeah, that was
And it's
amazing.
so good for the bonding. We do need touch. All this individualism that we're being pushed in,
Yeah.
because of, all technology and things like that. It's actually really
Mm.
bad for us. And to be very honest, it adds to the mental health issues that we have.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we need touch. The more touch, the better, basically. So we definitely need that. I also do mini medics. So I do sort of first aid for kids if they, to tell kids what to do when something goes wrong, or look for, or a bit of a more funky, funny way, of course.
Well, your thing is, you hear of these wonderful stories, don't you, with young children that have called 999 when their mum or dad or something's happened in the family, and they're lifesavers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if kids know what number to dial or where to look on their mobile phone, if kids know how to turn off electricity, those kind of things. Yeah, hey, it saves a life. So
Yeah,
come on, that's what we need,
yeah,
isn't it? So yeah.
absolutely. They absorb all this information like a sponge, don't
They do, yes. Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I think it's so important to have it in schools, because it's it's for life. You need it for life, and it will be sort of tucked away even if you don't repeat it. But
they?
you
Yeah,
have it for life, and and I have a hashtag, my hashtag, because it saves lives. So because it does save a life if you know what to do, or how to do it. So yeah.
yeah, and like you say, tools for life. I mean, my brain is going all over the place, because if you think about the corporate, the companies at the moment that haven't got this sort of skill base inside their business, I'm thinking about more the smaller size, because the bigger sizes have got their staff.
They have that. Once you have 25 staff, you need to have someone first aid trained. As of 5 staff, you need to have someone dedicated, but not necessarily trained. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but you think of the smaller businesses with four maybe people, and looking for. I'm thinking more mental health
Yeah.
signs really coming back out of this, and how people are coping inside, because we're very very good at hiding things, aren't we?
Yeah, we're very good. We're very, very good at that. But once it comes in the open, to be honest, it's too late then,
Yeah,
usually.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Well, look, thank you very much indeed.
Right.
It's been so informative. Thank you so much.
That's good.
This will go on to YouTube, as I've got my YouTube channel, and it will go onto
Right.
YouTube with your name and all tagged up so people can find you.
Okay.
And I will pop it into, and I'll pop a link into Messenger for you, and you can use that anywhere, but people can find it. It will be on here in media and the video section for people to look through. And please do put any links down underneath that you want to put in as we go. And as people come in and start watching, then any questions will be brilliant. I'm sure you'd welcome them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So stay on the line just a moment whilst we say goodbye. And then I say stay on the line. I don't even know if that's the right terminology these days, but whatever it is.
Stay on the line. Yes.
Stay around.
Cool.
I'll just end this and say thank you very much for people that are watching or have been watching.
Yeah,
and
brilliant. Thank you.
Also for people coming in later. So thank you
brilliant.
very much indeed. And thank you as well. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.